Yeah? Is that enough time? Okay, you can think about it later, but a Catholic author, Jonathan Doyle, he puts this beautifully. He says, if you can't do singleness well, then you will struggle to do relationships well. Say that again. If you can't do singleness well, then you would struggle to do relationships well. Many singles, people who live a single life, mistakenly think that married life is one of non-stop sexual attraction. I'm married 13 years, so I can say it's not. No, so it's no wonder that words like, I like someone, or I love someone, are very confused words in today's culture. Okay, for example, I had a conversation the other day with my colleagues, a couple of colleagues at work, and this is about a newly joined girl. So I said, you know this new Lebanese girl who joined? She's very beautiful, eh? This is what I told them. So immediately one of my colleagues goes, oh, so you've got the hots for her, is it? So I said, what? No, I mean, you've got the hots for her, right? So I said, no, does she have fever? I said, no, I didn't want to go to bed with her. I just said she's beautiful. See, this is the problem. Sometimes our culture is so sexualized that we have lost the capacity for any non-sexual intergender relationships. So it's either you are alive and you've got the hots for someone, or you're dead. But in between these two, what we miss is an entire world of relationships. Beautiful, intimate, solid, innocent, and tender relationships. You see, intergenerational relationships. So the first step, I would say, to a happy relational life, which is the topic today, is to live out. I'm talking to singles very, very specifically, okay? The very first step to a happy relational life is to live out our single vocation, the vocation to be single. There is such a vocation, for your information, okay? It's not like you're waiting to get married and it's like a limbo. No. There is a vocation of singlehood, okay? And God has a plan for you, right? Even while you're single. So there is the first step is to live out your single vocation with faithful joy. With faithful joy. Both those words are beautiful and important. Here the Holy Father, Pope Benedict, proposes a beautiful model. The Holy Father says, he proposes St. Joseph as a perfect model for living out your single vocation. So he says, St. Joseph teaches us that it is possible to love without possessing. Beautiful words, no? Take Joseph's relationship with Mary. The Holy Father says, St. Joseph teaches us that it is possible to love without possessing. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's so powerful. Loving without possessing. This is a very key learning for a single's vocation. Okay? And now, how can we do that? How can I learn to love without possessing? By learning to love unconditionally. Caroline spoke about that in a praise and worship. Okay, by learning to love unconditionally like Jesus did. St. Teresa of Avila says, accustom yourself continually to make acts of love, for they enkindle and melt the soul. Okay, basically, you see, before you can give your heart unreservedly to another person, you must enlarge your heart in a way. That's a way of putting it. Enlarge your heart so that it can hold another independent being within it. You see, so a lot of times when you're single, you're also very selfish without realizing. You're very self-centered because you have a small world. We have friends, yes, but we can get what we want. We don't have to consult anyone. But our hearts needs to be enlarged if we need to give that to another person, so that person can be enfolded in that heart. So that is a process which needs to happen during your single living out a single vocation. So going back to St. Teresa's beautiful quote, she says, accustom yourself continually, that means make this a habit, to make many acts of love, for they enkindle and melt the soul. Melting the soul is another way of saying enlarging your heart. So when it comes to friendships with the opposite sex, we have to learn to love without possessing. And how do I do that? I do that with the peace and freedom of chaste eyes. It's a beautiful statement, isn't it? With the peace and freedom of chaste eyes. There's a peace which comes from chastity. There is a freedom which comes into a relationship, a freedom of innocence, because you don't have a hidden agenda. In talking to the opposite sex, in relating with her or him, you don't have a hidden agenda. So there's freedom, there's peace, there's inner peace. So that is part one. So part one of our journey is living out our single life with faithful joy. What's part two? Part two of our journey is falling in love. Okay? When God sees that your heart is ready for total self-giving, then He will show you the person He has kept you from all eternity.